My brother had passed away in February of 2013 when I was 13 and he was 18. He had just turned 18 and he had hit a tree like less than half a mile from our house. I can walk there in 10 minutes. I found a poem that I feel represents acceptance. Do you want up here? Can you do it? It's kind of hard to walk on, it's a little slippery. You can sit. So, my brother died 12 years ago now, and I just wanted to talk about the fifth stage of grief, which is acceptance. And first and foremost, I don't think you ever accept like, okay, you never get over accept that it was okay, or like get over it or wish that things hadn't been different. But you there's yeah, I mean they call it acceptance for a reason. And I don't know at which point it happened over the years, but I wanted to talk about but I wanted to talk about processing that. Well, I wanted to talk about something interesting that I forecasted with me coming to accept it. I don't know. They're all very blurry things, but I also just want to talk about processing that and through my writing. And so I found a poem that I feel represents acceptance. And I don't think that's the first time that I came to acceptance. I think you come through these stages like multiple times throughout the years. It's not like you arrive at one stage and then move on to the next completely. But there was a day I was working in a coffee shop in 2022, and do you want to come back in? You want to be close? And yeah, I was working in a coffee shop in 2022. It was April 1st was the date on it, and I'm just coming across it again. But now in retrospect, I can see how a week after I got news of something, and I hadn't even thought back to this poem at all. But not in hindsight, you can do a lot of things, and yeah, some of it is just like humans want to find meaning in things, so they'll find it anywhere. But I just think it's beautiful, one regardless. And so it was a cold and rainy day in the coffee shop in Ohio, and my brother had passed away in February of 2013 when I was 13 and he was 18. He had just turned 18, and he had hit a tree like less than half a mile from our house. I can walk there in 10 minutes. And yeah, it was just very gray out. And I was just feeling that sadness randomly. And it's a really simple poem, okay? Very simple. But I kind of want to talk about how it comes through to acceptance, because as I write, I'm just writing candidly. I'm not writing for the sake of poetry. I'm not writing for the sake of, I just have something in me that needs to get out. And sometimes I process things as I keep writing, and things take a different shape than what I start. So it starts off: the day you lost your way, the willow sat still, it no longer swayed, the leaves turned gray. The sky wept the day you left, the flowers decayed, the trees went limp. This is very like childish in a way. Again, I'm just getting like my thoughts and feelings out onto paper, and it was a very childish part of me writing this. Like essentially that's exactly what I was seeing, what I felt. And it was just representing to me that everything on the outside, everything above the surface was dead and gray. And that's also true of physically in winter, everything was dead and gray. But that's also what it felt. It felt like everything just decayed and was rotting that I could see. But then as I kept writing, I didn't expect it to sort of take this like turn. I wrote: the day you left alone, the earth reclaimed your bones. Wet dirt warmed your skin. Roots encased you like ribs. And it takes this kind of beautiful turn. And looking back at it in hindsight, because yeah, I mean, when I touched his body, it was cold, and that was one of the most surreal. You can't even calculate it into your reality. Like it's not possible. It's just like the most. There's no words for it. The feeling. It's not like. It's yeah. I can't find the words for it this day to like touch someone's body who you just saw 2 hours earlier, alive, and like cold and hard. And so there's this like nice feeling of this wet dirt warming that skin below the surface. And so now it's reaching this place of, and roots encased you like ribs. Um, and it was kind of this transformation of everything was dead on the outside, but then coming back to this stage of acceptance was I was accepting that beneath the earth there's still life. It's still teeming with life beneath the earth. Even on the grayest, darkest day, there's, roots, the whole network of life happening down there. There's warm dirt, even when it's cold above the ground, when you dig deeper. And it was just a very like spiritual, grounded nature approach of all of this, because I felt like I was very Christian at the time. Not very, but like I very much believed in Christianity. And I felt like God had abandoned me. And now I'm looking back at this writing 10 years later, and I felt like the earth was still. Well, let me finish the last 4 lines. So, the day you left alone, the earth reclaimed your bones. Wet dirt warmed your skin. Roots encased you like ribs. Hello, old friend. Home is still here. The tulips will bloom soon, until your next form, which I changed to, I'll see you then, my dear. But I wasn't writing this to rhyme or to be good. I was just writing this very candidly, until your next form. So I was like, it was kind of 10 years later, I'm kind of coming to this point of even if there isn't a God, and I'm agnostic, but even if there isn't a God, the earth is very much real and very powerful, and so much happens that we can't see or feel. And maybe that is God. I'm leaving room for all religions to have their possibility, because I am a scientist in the sense of being skeptical that anything is possible. And that's not the point. But the point is, what I know is real is that the earth is so much bigger than we are. And I knew for a fact that tulips would bloom soon. He was buried in a coffin, but I like this idea of like the earth. I don't want to be buried in a coffin. That sounds so claustrophobic. That's not the point. The point is, I like the idea that the earth reclaims us. The earth knows who we are, is familiar with our atoms and our molecules and all that, and that it could be turned into compost, and that from that compost something new would be born. I knew that the tulips would bloom soon, and it was April 1st as well, so it was around that time, until your next form, so that even if I couldn't have him again in a heaven, that he is very much a part of the earth now. The earth, I don't know, that was comforting to me. And you go through these stages of acceptance and like denial over and over again, but to a much lesser degree as time goes on. But this is the first poem that I feel like I found this acceptance, and I didn't expect it to take this turn, because again, I start the poem off very childish, and the whole thing is very childish, but I started it, and then it took this turn of something beautiful is still going to happen, and that's just that. There's nothing more to it. And so why this is so beautiful is that I'm just putting this together now. A week later, my sister found out she was pregnant, and it was a baby boy, and his name is Archie, and he's 2.5 years old now. And I find that so incredibly beautiful, because even before you can see hope, you can feel it. And Archie has just brought so much love and joy and new life to my family that was missing for so long. And it was just so dark for so long, with different people's battles with mental health in my family, myself included. And I just feel like Archie was this tulip that bloomed soon. And that was, it's not my brother's new form, but it's a new form of life in my family. And this is just kind of like a messy conversation on that 5th stage of grief, which is acceptance. And yeah, I guess I don't really know what else to say about it, other than I'm looking back at it thinking how beautiful. A week later, the tulips did bloom literally in the grass, but also in this kind of full circle way of like this cycle of death in life, and that when there is death, there will always be new life. And that's just the way it is. And It's not good or bad. It just is. And I say this right now, but like there will be feelings of sadness again and anger and stuff, but that's just you just cycle through these feelings. And this poem is such a great representation of um how above the surface tree trunks decayed. He hit a tree and that tree got cut down and it's just this rotten tree trunk. But then below the surface, there's that tree is still very much connected and very much alive. The roots are very much alive with all of the other underground network of trees that we cannot see. And to me, that was just comforting at the time. I don't know. That was comforting that under that even when above ground everything is gray and dead and miserable, that underground there is life and there is connection and death and rebirth and all that good stuff. So, yeah, that's I guess that's all I sort of have to say to it, but it also kind of called me to want to go back to his tree site because I really don't stop there often. Like I pass by there, but I think I've only stopped and gotten out of the car there like a couple times in the past decade because I don't know. I'm like, well, what is that going to do for me? Like he's not there. But I think it's beautiful. I've been trying to talk to the trees lately. Like I'm just it's fun to have some sort of spirituality in your life and just connecting with nature is like historically very good for you and that he may not be here but that stump of that tree is still there and that stump of that tree holds the memory if only in my like in our minds of what happened that night and I think you can find peace and acceptance through kind of just standing there and closing your eyes and just being present. And I really want to climb a tree as well because I feel called to do that. Yeah. I can't climb that one because it's dead and gone. Well, it's not dead, right? It's not dead. It's just in its new form. Okay, I'm logging off. That's all.